Happy weekend to you, and welcome to the Day After podcast on our sub-show Pixar Sunday, where we watch all of the Pixar movies from start to finish. Today is a very special episode, where in episode 11 we are discussing Lee Unkrich's Toy Story 3, a very important episode in the Pixar canon. Haley has agreed that when we begin, just to get Pixar mainstays out of the way, because...
Yeah, that way we can just have a dialogue.
Alright, John Ratzenberger, I got his name right, yeah!
Yay!
Plays Ham. A very verbose pig who
likes windows.
Windows and reading about windows.
And locks.
And reading about every...
reading, he's the handbook guy.
Andy brings home Legend of Zelda and he's flipping through the manual.
I guarantee you he's not getting this gas mileage. No, that's a different movie.
A113 is the license plate of Andy's mom's old car from Toy Stories 1 and 2, which is eventually deeded to Andy to go to college in.
Yes,
so super
and she
cute.
gets the minivan.
The Pizza Planet truck is the device with which the three main villains, Chuckles, Lotso, and Big Baby, use to get to Sunnyside after having been discarded by their owner, Daisy. I
have a controversial opinion, Johnny, that I'd like to just air out right now.
Yes.
I think this movie's pretty good.
No.
There, I said it.
You're such a bullshitter.
There, I said. Okay, can I please give you guys a little nugget of John and I's personal relationship with this movie? So when you watch this movie, when this movie went through development hell, right? Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
This movie was not supposed to take 11 years to come out. It was going to be given as a project for their Pixar's offshoot company, Circle 7, which is going to handle... It was kind of going to be like a Disney Pixar... It was going to be kind of like a Disney sequel company that just did like offshoots of that.
Oh, okay.
But it got kind of canned because they were really deep in the negotiations for Disney to buy them.
Okay.
So that got put down, and then it got put in development hell, and then it stayed there for a long time while they figured out Disney, and then when it was finally time to go back and do this, the people that had watched Toy Stories 1 and 2 and were Andy's age were now college-age, almost kids.
Yes, or at least of the age where they had gone through that or are about to go through that. So, like, when you watch, when you were born on the turn of the 90s, as John and I were, when Toy Story 1 comes out, you are a little kid and you see Andy's toys kind of the way he sees them. They're playthings, and you kind of wonder, like, oh, what do these toys do when I'm gone? How do they feel? How do they think? And Toy Story explores that. Toy Story 2 has a little bit more mature themes, and you're a little bit more mature when it comes out, and that goes there. But because of this development hell, when this movie came out, this was probably like mere weeks before John went to college.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks. You kind of sprung it on me. You're like, hey, I know you're leaving in a while. You want to go watch Toy Story 3? And I fucking did a little dance.
Right, yeah. So we'd gone to the movies together a lot, and we didn't quite know how dating through while he was at college and I was still in high school is going to work. And so we already have that emotion, and then all the anxiety you normally get about leaving and all that stuff. And then you get this movie.
This movie, we talk. It's so easy to judge this movie's merits based on whether you feel it was a cash grab. And there are lots and lots of think pieces about the possible cash grab nature of certain Pixar films. Incredibles 2, Cars 2, Cars 3, Monsters University, those kinds of movies where you feel like they could have phoned it in. And I feel like this movie needs more discussion than they could have phoned it in, but they didn't.
And this is one movie where I don't think you can talk about it without bringing in the other Toy Stories. Like, I know we try to focus on just that movie when we do these Pixar Sundays, but the other ones are going to have to come up.
Absolutely.
So it's, I love this movie. I think it's really great. It very possibly will make the top of my list when we're done here. I do not think it is a perfect movie.
No, nothing is.
I think there are issues about it, issues that people kind of gloss over because that fucking ending.
It's an extremely powerful ending. When I think, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When I think about this movie, I think about where time is spent, and you would be remiss for thinking it's the daycare movie.
And that's, I don't know if I call that Act 2 the whole time they're in the daycare, but there's a lot of fat. Not a lot. There's some fat that could really, really use some trimming in the daycare.
Now, I subscribe much less rigorously to your desire to look for act breaks.
Right, and I wasn't trying to look for act breaks. It feels like that daycare is all one chunk.
So just for our sake, not criticizing the movie, just to get a good vibe on it. They arrive at the daycare 20 minutes in. They begin their escape 56 minutes in.
Okay.
So it's 36. It's about a third of the movie. Yeah, about a third of the movie they spend there.
Yeah, and a little bit later because there's there's
The
dialogue.
escape sequence. Yeah.
But of that big chunk that is daycare, you have to deal with Ken and his weird clothes. You have to deal with flamenco Buzz, and before that, you have to deal with Buzz returning to his old character, and that is all interspersed with the action and the plot details and the character moments, and it all gets kind of mixed around in a weird little bundle.
So, I want to figure out how the hell, what process they wrote this script, because if we break down the ticking clock, just to be really clear about it, he's leaving for college in 3 days. We have to get back in 3 days. Okay, what is keeping us? And so they go this I don't know what I guess daycare would be an interesting thing about the a toy's relationship to a kid.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I just think it's not. I won't say too much time is spent on it because a third of the movie is fine, but there's stuff that goes on in there that doesn't need to be there. And I think part of my issue with the daycare segments is because I like that first part and everything from the garbage scene on so much. I feel like I'm just waiting for the next big story moment.
I'm not doubting your word usage here, but waiting it's a much more palatable waiting than say the waiting from Up.
I'm not checking my phone, seeing the runtime of this movie before it gets interesting. No, that's not it at all.
It's a serviceable, possibly pretty darn good movie, surrounded on either end by fantastic emotional beats that really it's just like maybe this is not a problem. I don't know how you would fix this, but once Andy's like, oh shit, Mom, where's my toys? Like, you don't hear from Andy for a lot of the movie.
Right, and you mentioned while we were watching it that as I was bringing up some of these points, you're like, well, but this isn't about Andy and this isn't about like that journey. It's about being a toy and what that entails. Do you want to kind of explain that a little bit?
Well, we were to elaborate on that, we have to get to the Buzz thing.
Okay, so let's get to the Buzz thing.
I'm not going to talk about Toy Story 4. I'm not.
No.
That's it.
Next point. We're done.
Okay. Here's the point is that Haley brings up a good point that eventually, after about movie 2, they begin to struggle to know what to do with Tim Allen's Buzz Lightyear.
Right, and I don't know why they struggle with him and not Slinky and not Rex and not the potatoes.
Well,
why does Buzz get all the weird experimental shit?
Maybe not weird, but certainly weird. Certainly weird, certainly experimental, but maybe not unwarranted, because I feel like I'm trying not to contradict myself, because in future Toy Story movies, I got mad that they didn't include the whole cast. And this one does.
Right.
That escape sequence is a gigantic group effort. But
you're introduced to what cast is left at the beginning, and you're with them the whole ride.
Yeah, they really respected their cast. I think that Buzz is the one that we've gotten to know much better.
Yeah.
And that if something's going to happen to Buzz, it would if something happened to Rex, where like he now he only speaks dinosaur or something.
Yeah.
That would come off maybe a little bit more gimmicky. Maybe it has more weight because this debilitating thing happened to a prominent character in the series,
or
maybe?
To the character who was kind of taking over the leadership role now that Woody was gone.
Yeah.
Like, and that's fine. You can do weird stuff with Buzz, but like, let me trace this character arc. So we go into the daycare. Buzz is kind of the leader of the thing. He gets captured while trying to convince Lotso that, hey, my friends don't belong in the caterpillar room. He then gets his demo switched back, so he goes back to Buzz from the first movie and becomes a prison guard for all of the other toys because he's been brainwashed. And then Woody comes back. They trap Buzz again underneath a storage bin, press his button to turn him into Spanish. But you see how this is like...
No.
This is like a whole weird short shoved into a movie.
I don't want to go back to something being a short. I think it's something you could have. It almost.
I think you can do different things with Buzz. I just don't know why you had to do like everything under the sun.
Well, it plays a little bit more like a comedy of errors, I guess. It's we're trying our best to fix Buzz. Oh, we fucked it up. Oh, we fucked it up again.
And my personal preference, I really like when his relationship with Jesse is very subtle, and like it was in that little first beginning, and like it was at the end.
Well,
and they kind of beat it over the head in the daycare scene.
Well, the seeds of Buzz and Jesse's relationship, and I don't want to call it like a hard relationship because what does that mean as a toys universe? That's neither here nor there. They do have some kind of mutual attraction at the end of 2. It's cool to advance on that and elaborate on that, but I don't need a story thing. They could still interact as though they're a romantic couple, but
right.
I don't need that to progress.
But when Buzz becomes Spanish Buzz, and God, that still sounds dirty coming out of my mouth. Jesse is all he's obsessed with.
Well,
which is so weird.
I disagree because I don't disagree that it's weird. I disagree that that's all he's obsessed with. Because
okay, that retracted. It's not all he is obsessed with. Jesse becomes much more of a focus to Spanish Buzz than before.
Well,
when he was other Buzz.
Maybe it's because we tread the only area that we can with, we'll call him Factory Reset Buzz. Because in the second one, he was all about how do I defeat Zurg? How do I get back into my spaceship? So yes, that is a goal of his, but we don't want to focus on that because that might seem like it's retreading old ground.
Yeah, and if, like, I don't know, then just have him be normal Buzz. Why is that so... I don't know. I just think they really did Buzz a disservice, and I feel like they didn't know what to do with him, and they did character beats that don't work for me.
The reason that I'm at least trying to fight you, I'm trying my best to have a good faith argument, because when you said that you didn't like the Buzz shtick from 2, that knocked 2 down a tiny bit in my mind.
What do you mean the Buzz shtick?
When Buzz gets replaced with Factory Reset Buzz.
Yeah,
that didn't work. You said that didn't work for you, and I kind of began to see it. So I'm trying my best.
And they did the same thing in this movie.
It
replaced him with Space Ranger Buzz.
That's gonna be something I gotta milk on. I gotta lament.
Right. Well, there are other characters in this movie.
Let's talk about Ken.
Oh, okay. I was gonna talk about somebody else, but
yeah,
okay.
You go first.
Okay. So we are deep, and I mean deep, just kind of getting into the deepness of Disney's twist villain phase.
Let's talk about it.
And so with these weird twist villains, you have the elephant in the room, Lotso, but you also have Ken. And we could talk about either one of those first if you'd like.
Lotso deserves more attention. Ken is... I don't call Ken a villain. I call Ken I don't
know what to call Ken.
Okay, no. Okay, most of the villains aiding Lotso are more reaping the rewards of a broken system that they don't have an opinion of either way.
Yeah.
Okay, and in that regard, because even when Barbie's like, Ken, why are you doing this? It's fucking complicated. I love you. Yeah. Just let me. He's a dork. He's a schmaltzy dork.
He's a schmaltzy dork, and I love it.
They
such balls for including a character like this in a movie like this.
A very feminine character. I like that. Yeah. But it's not like, oh, look how woke we are. I just find that refreshing.
Yeah.
You brought up that he's a little bit less of a character, a little bit more of a joke.
Yeah, and so there are little bitty scenes in this movie. We'll get to more of them. But probably the worst one for me is there's scenes that drag. The scenes that just seem to fill up time and don't really add anything to the story. And probably the worst one is that scene in Ken's dressing room.
Yeah, normally I would agree with you. Normally I would say this is time better spent somewhere else. Here's the problem for me. I'm having trouble saying that because that's really funny. It is fucking hilarious. I shouldn't find it funny. I'm so hard to make laugh.
But you found Tortilla Head funny, but we'll get to him
later.
My
God, are we gonna... Sorry.
So I movies can be funny. Yes, that's fine. When you're having funny when funny gets in the way, that's when I have a problem. When funny gets in the way of some major high stakes escape sequence, and we had this weird ass dressing room scene. Why? Ken and Barbie have had interactions before now. Why not do that later and build up Ken's character? That's fine. Why do we have to do it right there?
So you're a little bit less upset with the amount of it. You're a little bit more upset with the placement.
Yeah, so I do not think. I mean, you can add up however many minutes that is and go, oh, how can you say that drags? It's only 2 minutes long. I was like, yeah, but still.
When I'm watching them do this marvelous escape sequence, and we are cutting to Ken and Barbie having another fucking relationship talk in the bushes.
And I'm just like, and there's all this movie is peppered with those kinds of scenes, but we need to talk about Lotso before
they're really they're okay. Sorry. I often think that we're kind of being a little bit hoity-toity by saying we need more character development out of these toys when this is already a good movie. But like I said, you don't criticize the movies you hate. You criticize the movies you want to be good.
Yeah, and again, keep in mind, I said at the beginning, we're criticizing some of this movie's flaws. It's still probably going to make number one for me. At least so far.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, let's continue. I have a personal relationship between Lotso Hug and Bear and Prospector Pete.
I was really wondering where that sentence was going to go.
Okay. For a long time, let's say for about most of my college career, for 4 years, I believed that Lotso Hug and Bear was a shallow retread of Prospector Pete. Now, somebody had pointed out that unlike Prospector Pete, Lotso Hug and Bear is pretty much an objectively evil.
Yeah, and there's nowhere that is better demonstrated than when he refuses to push the button on the garbage scene.
Holy shit!
Holy shit.
Okay, but like...
And to the point where I don't care that he's tied to the front of a truck at the end. I'm just like, fuck you.
I was okay, so sometimes like... yeah, it's a kids company, but like all the villains have to have like Prospector Pete. He gets drawn on by a Barbie at the end of 2.
Yeah,
and Lotso, he gets tied to the front of a truck. Like, oh, they got their comeuppance. That being said, I'm not asking for the punishment to fit the crime. I'm just saying that's fucking hardcore for what a movie can do for kids.
I like Prospector Pete above Lotso Hug and Bear because I see Pete's, I see his side, I see his understanding, and he has a legitimate point. What are you gonna do when Andy grows up? And Woody's like, that doesn't matter, and that's a really big scene. Lotso Hug and Bear is just a shithead.
Yes, but he's a shithead.
You understand why he's a shithead, but he's never trying to be sympathetic. He's always just kind of in your face, like, I was left behind, therefore everybody deserves to be unhappy.
It's super shitty, yeah, and I think that Pete would be the clear winner if he spent more time evil in the movie, because Lotso is revealed pretty early he's not an up-and-up character.
Yes, yep.
So I feel like that is what keeps this from being a blowout.
Right.
Is that if we had more, maybe less subtle illustrations of Prospector Pete's intent, he would come across much better. And I'm at the problem where I don't know where I'm going to put these 3 movies.
Yeah.
Not on the entire list, but in relation to each other. It's like picking your children.
Right. And they're all so distinct and so different. So can we get back to those scenes where I feel like it fills out too much? Fucking tortilla face. John loves this, and I think it's fucking stupid.
Guys, did you know that before Potato Head was the potato, the doll used to just be the pieces, and you make the fun yourself by getting a vegetable and putting the face pieces on a vegetable.
Okay, and that's fine. Yeah, all right. We got to get Potato Head out, and he puts his pieces on something, a tortilla, fine, whatever. What? It's again with number 1, why, and number 2, it has the same issue that Ken's dressing room does. There's too much. There's too long there.
No, he's
it's you make the joke and you move on. Why do we have to linger? Why does he have to get eaten by a pigeon? Why do we have to take over a cucumber?
Funny. But he's a tortilla. Look at how much physical comedy we can get out of, oh, I fell over. And for Don Rickles, a notable insult comic.
Yes.
It's so, I'm amazed how much they can get out of his character when he doesn't say a whole bunch. But it's so maybe it's because it's out of left field, but it's like safely out of left field where the kids can still get it. That's so weird looking.
This movie was very, very kind to Potato Head, much more so than the other two movies were.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. He's shitty.
Yeah, he's got some great character moments here.
Not like redeeming. He didn't need redeeming. It's Don Rickles.
No, but it's just... and that'll probably be the last of those scenes that I'll talk about. There are others that I have issues with. But yeah, there's these little scenes peppered throughout that I feel like just take too much time.
Yeah, and I don't know how... Because to just go back to Andy, I say just reflexively that I want more Andy in the movie, but it's already established at the beginning that Andy hasn't played with these in a long time.
Right.
So I guess you can't, so you have to put something in.
Yeah. And I appreciate the difficult position that this movie is placed in. I bet this is why it was in development hell. Part of it is like, what do you do? How do we do this? How do we make this a legitimately good movie and not a cash grab? I really respect the people for that. I don't agree with all of their decisions. Most of them are very, very good.
It's really good. I want to take just a small break to...
I hate the monkey. Sorry, okay. I had to get that out.
No, the monkey is involved with what I need to say here.
I hate the monkey.
This movie is taking a lot of interesting choices, not with color palette, but with more subtle visual things like lighting, texture. Not lighting, let's first big example. After they get to Sunnyside and the kids are ready to bust in the door and start playing with them, there's a subtle lighting shift, and you can tell that they've altered the color so that it looks like LED light.
Yeah.
A cooler temperature light.
Yes, the caterpillar room has a cooler temperature light than the butterfly room.
To give it a really subtle, not air of menace, that's too tough, but like something is wrong, something is different.
Yeah, it's like you're in a laboratory or something.
And that continues to like the really sickly greens of, by the way, why is there a roulette table at the top of a vending machine?
What is this, a Bug's Life?
That was so funny. Oh my god. And it continues to the monkey's room where they do these really subtle lighting things on his eyeballs, and you could tell just barely, like when you're looking at somebody read a book, their eyeballs really gently will just kind of waver. And
I really respect the design of these new toys, by the way. The monkey and the baby fucking maybe shit my pants.
There's
that's terrifying.
There's a child velociraptor, and there's like the thing where you poke his head. The designs are all really good.
Yeah.
I'll go on. Yeah, go for it.
Well, while we're on visuals, I want to talk about some of the sheer jump in animation, even from the last movie.
Oh, I'm shocked. Yeah.
There's wood grain on the stools. There's chipped paint on many of the toys, and the older the toys are, the more like smudge marks and stuff that they have. When the gang gets painted on and spat on and everything, they carry those scars throughout the entire movie
until they get washed off later. When they're in the bag. With the hefty bag is like got texture when it tears and gets thinner.
Yeah.
God, other shit. It's all over the place. I feel like when they get picked up by the claw, by the aliens, the particle effects are just them showing off.
Yeah. And that's my second favorite. It's honestly like if the ending wasn't handled so well, that'd be like... that would be my favorite scene in the movie, to the point where I almost said when I first watched this, why didn't you end it there? Because, oh my god, was that scene so poignant.
Yes, it was.
Do you want to, before we move on to the ending, do you want to talk about Bonnie and her toys, or no?
No.
Okay.
Well, I do really appreciate the like, we do a lot of improv here. Like, they're cool, but they're a little bit more of an alt crowd.
Yeah.
They got an uptight playwright porcupine.
Yeah.
And just the guy like, yeah, we just do improv. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I like showing this new generation, like they're not just carbon copies of Andy's toys, like they're different. They're distinct, and I really like that.
Oh, it looks like you are the one that's gonna bust up the Ghost Bakery. Okay, cool, roll with it, see what happens. Because Bonnie is a kid. She has those wild things. Yes. As evidenced by that opening scene where okay, you're not even gonna ask questions that a pink Corvette is driving up next to a train.
Yeah, and there's enough beats that you saw when Andy was playing earlier that you're like, oh, okay, this is what this is. But it's the ushering of a new era of this new great burst of imagination for Pixar. And I think I love that opening scene. So
right.
cool.
I don't have a lot to say about the ending. I feel like it's a perfect summation of the trilogy.
Yeah, I like normally multiple endings really, really rub me the wrong way. But
they came back for a reason, you felt?
Right, yeah, they came back for a reason, and that scene was so poignant and so good, and yet you didn't ruin it by just flushing it up with a garbage scene afterwards. That emotional beat carries throughout the entire following.
It's impressive that the most powerful scene in the movie is the final scene. That's impressive, where you could still get falling action and it still feels earned.
Yeah, and I can't remember what movie I said had one of the best endings I've ever seen, but this is when you're looking at amazing film endings, this is always what I come back to.
All right.
And
how do you feel in general?
I adore this movie. Every time I watch, it's not quite Wreck-It Ralph syndrome, but every time I watch it, I do notice more pimples. But they never detract from the whole. It's greater than the sum of its parts. It hit me at the right time, and it's just it's truly a work of art.
I feel like, not that they were testing. I feel like this movie earned the keep of those 4 shorts they made just because of which we've seen. No, but the them not dicking around in the daycare, but just the interaction of toys without the humans.
Yeah.
It showed that these characters can hold weight by themselves without being interacted. And we've watched one of them so far. It's honestly pretty good. Go check it out. But this hit me really hard, and I'm glad that I've been able to tackle this more, I guess, objectively, because I was so worried I wouldn't be able to. Like, it would be impossible. But I'm glad I went back objectively, because that's the one that needed it the most.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, thank you for joining us on episode 11. It's the midway point of Pixar Sunday.
Wow, we're only halfway there?
11 down, 10 more to go, 11 if we want to revisit Toy Story 4.
Which, that doesn't exist.
We'll find out maybe later. Don't get your hopes up.
I'm so glad this is the last Toy Story movie.
This has been Toy Story 3, directed by Lee Unkrich.
What is next, John?
Join us in 1 week where we are discussing 2011's sequel, Cars 2. You have to love all your children. No, you have to spend equal time with your children.
Yes, and Cars 2 needs discussed, but we'll handle that next week.
Bye, everybody.